Since Starfire is getting a fat nerf in Season of the Deep, all of us warlocks are going to have to find a new exotic to use. One of which that I've been using for a very long time and is finally receiving some attention is the Sunbracers. Its exotic perk states that it increases the duration of solar grenades and that solar melee kills grant unlimited solar grenade energy for a brief time. Now, not to confuse anyone, it is referring to the specific grenade called Solar Grenade, not all grenades on the solar subclass in general. The amount of time that the solar grenades are increased by is also doubled from 4 seconds all the way to 8 seconds, and it also intrinsically gives it fastball, so there is no need to run the mod on your arms. Sounds pretty cool, right? Get a powered melee kill, and then you could throw unlimited grenades for 5 seconds. Where it gets interesting though, is when you throw your aspects into the mix. To buff your grenades by giving them increased linger duration, and to periodically emit blobs of lava, put on the Touch of Flame aspect. But where it gets really crazy is when we throw on Heat Rises. Heat Rises is often overshadowed by Icarus Dash, but it really is a beast of an aspect. When consuming your grenade by holding the input, you will be able to float in the air, and while airborne, Final Blows will increase Heat Rises up to a maximum of 30 seconds and grant melee energy. Yes, that's right, melee energy. It's almost like this aspect was made for Sunbracers. Now this is what makes the build work, and if that's all you care about, you could fuck off to the description and get the link. Now if you're not too sure of what mods to use, keep watching and I'll get into it. For your super, I would use Well of Radiance because, well, it's fucking overpowered. But you could use Daybreak if that squirts your pickle. For your class ability, I would use Phoenix Dive because it's a quick source of health as using it grants Cure, and while Heat Rises is active, it will grant Restoration and Scorch targets. For jump, I would use Burst Glide because if you're not, what are you even doing? For melee ability, I would use Incinerator Snap as a faster cooldown and it's very easy to ignite targets with it. And then obviously we're using Solar Grenades. Depending on what is more important to you, I have two options for your Fragments. For more restoration and healing, I would use Ember of Searing, which will grant even more melee energy and create a fire sprite for defeating scorched targets. Your grenades and melee ability already deal Scorch, so it should proc on every single kill, but it does have a cooldown. Next, I would use Ember of Mercy, which grants restoration when you pick up a fire sprite, and then I would use Ember of Empyrean to keep that restoration going by killing enemies with solar abilities or weapons. Ember of Resolve will cure you when you get kills with grenades, and while it is very useful in this build, it isn't necessary as we have healing options from other sources. Instead, you could use Ember of Torches for a 15% radiant buff from powered melee damage, or you could use Ember of Ashes to apply increased Scorch stacks from all sources. If you prefer more ignitions and to blow literally everything up like pre-nerf Warmind cells, use Ember of Eruption to increase ignition area of effect, Ember of Char to spread Scorch from ignitions, Ember of Ashes to increase Scorch stacks from all sources, and Ember of Resolve to grant Cure on grenade kills. Now that we have our subclass set up, it is time to move on to our mods. For your helmet, run 2 Ashes to Assets to get your super back faster, and a Harmonic Siphon to create orbs when rapidly defeating opponents with your solar weapons. For your gauntlets, run 1 Firepower and 1 Heavy-Handed to create orbs with grenades and powered melee kills. Use Momentum Transfer to reduce melee cooldown when damaging enemies with your grenades. Remember, you do not need to run Fastball as it is intrinsic on your Sunbracers. For your chest piece, run either multiple Charged Ups for increased stacks of armor charge or any damage resistances you might need. It is up to you. For your boots, run 2 Recuperations for instant health on orb pickups, and a Solar Weapon Surge for increased solar weapon damage. For your bond, use 2 Outreach to gain melee energy when using your class ability just in case, and Time Dilation for longer armor charge. For your stats, Mobility, Discipline, Intellect, and Strength do not really matter because your abilities will come back from Sunbracers and Heat Rises. Because of this, heavily spec into Resilience and Recovery to stay alive a lot easier. And for your weapons, it is up to you as it really does not matter too much for this build. Mainly just use a weapon with Incandescent, or my personal preference, Sunshot, and you're good to go. Hey, if you're hearing me right now, you've reached the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and leave a rating and comment to let me know how I did. This is the very first video I've done like this, and I would appreciate some feedback. Now take that fucking Starfire off and start throwing mini suns out of the palm of your hand. Yes, that was a Spider-Man reference, and yes, I just dropped my fucking controller on the ground. I'm keeping that in, and I'll catch you in the next one.